This is the NAACLS Podcast.
Hello, and welcome back to the NAACLS Podcast. It is October 31st, 2019. Happy Halloween for those who may be checking this out at, this afternoon, or tomorrow, or in the near future. Today, we are going to talk about the site visit summary page. Some of the material discussed in this episode may seem a bit redundant after last month's episode with Brenna Ilza. However, these summary pages really play an important part in not only the committee process, but the communicating with our program directors. So it's really important that we take the time and focus on making sure these pages are in the best form they can possibly be. Our guest today is DeAnne Maxwell. DeAnne Maxwell just wrapped up both her second term as an RCAP member as well as her role as chair for RCAP. As you'll find out during the podcast, the RCAP chair spends a lot of time reading site visit reviews. So we couldn't think of a better person to really share her experiences and share some tips on providing the most clear and concise and effective site visit summary page as a reviewer. If you have any questions about what the most up-to-date documents are and which ones you should be using, please contact staff at NAACLS.org or our phone number 773-714-8880. And without any further ado, DeAnne Maxwell. Okay, so we're here at episode 3 of the NAACLS Podcast. With me is DeAnne Maxwell. DeAnne is the outgoing RCAP chair at the time of recording. We actually have our annual board meeting next week where she will be performing her last official function as RCAP chair. And then we put her out to pasture. How are you doing today, DeAnne?
I am fine, Mark. Thanks for having me with you today. I am looking forward to my last board meeting. I've enjoyed serving as RCAP chair. I think it's really an important committee. I love working and representing NAACLS, and it's been a pleasure to serve on RCAP for the last several years. But it's time to move on and pass the umbrella off to someone else. So.
And actually have a little free time again.
Yes, that would be nice too. I'd like to be able to get back to my actual job. That would be kind of nice. So, what do you want to talk about today, Mark?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's talk about site visit reviews and specifically the importance they play in the process,
okay, and
really ways to improve the summary page and items within the review itself. So to kind of keep this podcast a little manageable time-wise, we're going to spend most of our time focusing on the summary page. We'll reference other parts of the document, but really we're talking about the last page itself. And from a staff perspective, and DeAnne, you can comment on this with your experience as not only RCAP chair, but also a program director who's received these pages. From a staff perspective, when a program director calls us and they get a review and they're very, very nervous, and they see all of the language, if there's outstanding concerns, we always tell them what we hold them responsible for is the summary page.
And that is exactly true, Mark. As a reader, as a committee member, when I go to formulate and look at all the materials and look at all the documentation that I have, the first thing I always look at is that last page of the site visit report. That should have all the summation from the review, from the response. Everything should be there for me, and that's kind of my starting point for how I decide if I'm going to see if this program that's been submitted to me as a reader is in compliance with all the standards. And so, that is important for me as a reader. As a program director, I just had my site visit in April, and I went through that process. I got the summary page for the review, and I got the summary page for the site visit report, and that was, again, the first thing I flipped to just to see what was on that summary page.
So another item for site visitors to keep in mind is kind of the big picture, and that's why we have this slide. The site visit response, or I should say the site visit report response, is the final opportunity for programs to take care of any concerns. After this process, concerns start becoming citations, then things start getting set in stone, which kind of, again, adds to the importance of clarity, specificity, and just language that will not only help the program director, but as DeAnne mentioned, the reader pair and committee members when they're trying to finalize any items to make sure if there's any outstanding concerns that, like we said, become citations. What we're looking at now on this first slide is an example of a reviewer that checked yes on all the boxes. However, they added something for comments. Now, when you see this as, in a variety of your roles, DeAnne, what are your impressions when you see this within a review itself?
When I'm looking at paperwork that's been submitted and I see things like this, again, I go through boxes and look at yes, yes, yeses, and my eyes are then drawn to the line of comments. And always, it is instantaneous in my brain. Oh my gosh, what's wrong? Because everything was marked yes. So to me, a no box or an unresolved box in the concern from the review, those are the things that should warrant a comment. Whenever there's a comment, and you can even see that the stars match up. The asterisks tell you that if you've marked a box that has asterisks, that is when you should put something into the comments. So in any case, my eyes immediately go there, and I wonder, oh my gosh, what's wrong? This one's fine. They're trying to be nice, which is great. I don't think that a site visit, a self-study review, I don't think any of those things should always be punitive. I think pluses and minuses, good things, bad things should both be shared with the program, but not here.
Yeah, certainly. And in the slide after
this one looks a lot nicer.
Yeah. So this is an example of, that comment being removed. And as you said, as a way for NAACLS to be not just this punitive organization, we do have a spot on the summary page where we allow for reviewers to list programs of strength. So in this example, that language of the program's facility layout and organization are very interesting. That's moved down to areas of strength because that's what it is. It's an area of strength. As we move on, another issue that we see in committee work and in the office is language that almost too much detail without kind of getting to the meat of the issue. On the left, and if you're watching this rather than listening to an audio version, it's a little small, I apologize. But on the left, you will see Standard 4A, which is a commonly cited standard. The reviewer went down, checked the yeses where applicable. There are also some no's here, but when they went to add a little bit of a narrative to explain why the program may have had concerns, they kind of ran into some difficulties. Again, DeAnne, when you, I'm sure you've seen many things written in this nature. And as a committee member, what challenges does it present to you when you're reviewing programs?
Well, this is an excellent example. Standard 4A is the one that, as we talked about, has all the publications and disclosures, all the things that need to be made available to prospective and enrolled students both. And so it is a listing of things. Is this there? Is A there? Yes. Is B there? Yes. Is C there? Yes. In this particular example, in the comment section, they've gone through and said, well, this and this and this is there, but this one's not. And then sometimes even within the same sentence, they'll tell me that they found this, but they didn't find that. And then it goes on and on. So it's not just in paragraph form even. It's within the sentence itself. As a reader, as a committee member, I look at this and I have to go through it and then go through it again and then go through it again and try to figure out exactly what was there and what wasn't there. If this would to get moved right back to the summary page, if I was the program director, I would have that same challenge of going back through and trying to figure out, well, what was good and what wasn't. And even the words they use, a bit confusing but acceptable. Does that mean it's okay?
Yeah.
So too verbose sometimes is a problem as well.
Here we have an example of probably a better way to present that information. The reviewer, in this example, the reviewer states that a lot of the documentation was found. However, there are materials with, specifics identified that weren't readily available. So what we're looking at now is the summary page that we referred to earlier. This is probably very familiar to those who have done reviews or received reviews, but we're going to take a look at it to discuss a couple of items within the summary page to pay attention to, and also keeping in mind the examples we showed before, what the concern summary should look like.
And Mark, this is a really important page. And again, I wear several hats. I'm a program director. I've done site visits. I've been site visited. I'm an RCAP chair. I'm an RCAP reader. So I've looked at this page as with a million different hats on. And one thing I want to make, I would love to be able to say is the fact that, when you are a site visitor and you are getting ready to fill out this summary page, we've talked before about how important this summary page is. When you are there doing a site visit, you are a representative of NAACLS, and what you say carries a lot more weight than if another program director from your state just emails you and asks you a question and you answer. When you're writing something down on this NAACLS site visit report summary page, you should be using NAACLS-based language, and it should sound like it's expertly written and carry the weight of NAACLS, not just a program director that's doing a site visit. That's not the intent of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I can imagine it would be very easy to slip into a personal best practices, because as I go to CLEC meetings and I look at the ASCLS listserv, it's a very collaborative group that is very excited to share their experiences and what works for them. But it is very, very important that when you're on these site visits and you're reviewing these items, that you keep in mind of it has to tie back to the standard. And while I feel we have very high standards, at their core, they are the minimum of what we expect from programs.
And that's true. You're going to find that, I think you're going to find, Mark, that a lot of program directors are pretty opinionated about what they think is best practice. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes you're going to get into a situation where, there's a little bit of a site visitor may not think that they have an opinion about whether the program has met the standard or not, and you really need to just stick with the standard language and say yes, no. Is there evidence? Is there not evidence? And that's about where you need to stay. You can't think or feel or anything like that. You have to stick to the standards.
Yeah, and if you are in some gray area, that's why we send multiple people out on these reviews, so the appropriate discussions can take place and some kind of consensus can be met. Mm-hmm. It's also good to keep in mind that at this point, while it is a program director's final opportunity, it is a concern. So nothing is set in stone quite yet. They still have that final opportunity to respond.
And as a site visitor, you also need to make very sure that everything that goes on this summary page has already been discussed with the program director before you go to the exit interview and do the summation. So the program director is well aware of anything that is considered a concern at this point in time that may result in a citation. So they should have a pretty clear understanding of what needs to be addressed. Then when they get this written site visit report, what you have told them should be what is written there as a concern.
Another thing that stands out to me on this page, DeAnne, is the item in red. Can you kind of explain the reason that's there?
Oh, sure. Now, we had a problem in the past with the self-study review kind of being separate from the site visit. And the site visitor had to look at the review and try to figure out if a concern had been resolved with the response or not. And so we kind of took this section out of the summary page, and now all of these things are embedded. In the examples that we showed you previously, at the top of every single section, there is a spot for, is there a concern from the self-study review? And it's the site visitor's job to clearly move that concern from the self-study review over to the site visit report, then say whether it was reconciled or resolved or not. And then at the bottom of that section, that's where you comment on how that particular concern was resolved. And again, you're going to find those red asterisks that tell you this is what should, if you mark one of these boxes, then you need to also put in the comment section. If you mark a box that doesn't have red asterisks, you don't need to put a comment in.
So now we're looking at the final language that made its way to the summary page and is available for the program director. One reason we're stressing so much on this idea of clarity and specificity is that a lot of times programs at worst will deal with the standards and NAACLS language once every 5 years. We're actually seeing a lot of tenure awards happening since we implemented that change in the 2012 standards. So many programs won't really deal with this kind of level of NAACLS language once a decade. Again, to say it ad nauseum, clarity and specificity. If you have some question about what that may actually look like, I would suggest using the Standard Compliance Guide as an example. Those documents were developed over many, many years with many, many people, and those documents are also out there for program directors to understand what NAACLS wants out of them to demonstrate compliance. So that would be a really good guide, which I assume you would have available, and if you don't, it's on our website, to really make sure that the materials you're writing and developing have the level of detail that's necessary.
And Mark, this is the remaining concern that follows the example that we used earlier. This was for standard 4A, and in the comment section, it clearly indicated that the items marked yes were found. And then this sentence was there. The following items could not be verified on site. So again, when you're transferring comments from the middle of the document to the back, it clearly says remaining concerns. So I don't need to type on this page that, some of the items were found. I don't need that because that's not a concern. The concern is the fact that the following items could not be verified on site. And so again, that makes it very clear for the program director when they get this, oh gosh, this is what I need to respond to. And then it also helps the reader from the RCAP committee to be able to say, these are the things that were not verified on site. This is what came in the response. This concern is resolved, and there is no citation that needs to be given.
I've seen many, many reviews, and I've worked a lot with committee members that are really trying to parse the language. And sometimes it takes a team of people very familiar with NAACLS standards and NAACLS language to try to figure out what a reviewer meant. I can't even imagine how some program directors deal with it. But also, as mentioned before, areas of strength. We don't want to be completely this negative aspect in program directors' lives. So if there are things that you're seeing that the program director is doing well, we want to make sure to have an area available for reviewers to contribute that as well.
I use that areas of strength all the time when I'm done, and I always fill that area out, maybe not in complete sentences when I'm doing the exit interview because I'm still going to go home and type this up when I get done. But I always try to think about something that I would say about the organization, something I would say about the program director, something I would say about the faculty, something I would say about support. I like to include a lot of positives on this page. And then if there are concerns, those are the only things that they have to work on. So I spend as much time thinking about their areas of strengths when I get ready to fill out this summary page as I do about making sure that I've carried everything over to the back.
And with that, I think we'll kind of wrap up this episode. We're trying to keep these short and manageable and hopefully produce them at a more frequent rate. So Thank you to DeAnne for joining me. She's a wealth of information, and I'm excited to see her next week, and I am not excited about her going off RCAP, but that's the nature of the business. So thank you again, DeAnne, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me, Mark. I appreciate all the help and guidance I get from NAACLS. And as I said earlier, I have enjoyed my experience working with them. And I look forward to working with you in the future, too. I'm not leaving my program director job, just leaving RCAP Chair. That's it.
All right. Bye-bye.
I'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the NAACLS podcast. Please remember that the items of compliance discussed today may be out of date. For the most up-to-date documents, please visit NAACLS.org. Click on the Program Directors link. Scroll down. And look for the resource bar.